Hi paper crafters, welcome to another Design with Jo video. I'm Joanne Rogers, a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Central Alberta, Canada, and I've been designing with you in mind since 1999. Today's video is an edited version of a live recording. Enjoy! Today, Thursday at 11 o'clock in the morning, Mountain Time, is Case the Cattie. And what those are videos where I show you live crafting, where I show you how to take a project out of a current Stampin' Up! Catalog and make it. So some of the things that I make, I guess at a little bit because we're not given the exact measurements and supplies for it. But what I do is try and figure out what they are based on what I see in the catalog too. I do have a list of what all the supplies are, but not necessarily what the measurements are. So you're going along with me and you're taking a look at how do I interpret it? And I would love it if you would share this and if you follow me on Facebook, because this is a class that's for anybody. It can be for a beginner rubber stamper or paper crafter. It can be for someone who has been crafting for a long time. I always sprinkle tips and tricks in here that I share with you, and I would just love to have a lot of people join us. Plus, you can win. So when you join in, the day before, I always post a picture of a page out of the catalog. And what I do is I say, pick one of these and tell me which one you think I'm going to be making. And then anybody who comments on that post, I put your name in a draw. And at the end of today's episode, I am going to be picking a winner. So this is the catalog page that I showed you, and I'm showing you again, but to take a guess at which one you think I might be making. And it didn't strike me at first, but when I first looked at this in the catalog, and this is one of the first pages in the catalog, this is page 3. So it's really early on in the catalog, but it's really showcasing a lot of different things. It's showcasing the new in colors that we had come out this year. It's showcasing a great stamp set, some set of dies. It's showing, here's the in color jewels that we have, our Stampin' Blends, a bunch of different ways to color different things. So it's a great page in and of itself, but it also has 3 great designs. So some of you guessed the right one, some of you didn't guess the right one, and you know what? It doesn't matter. Anybody who guesses, I put your name in the draw. All of the designs on that page are 3x3 cards. And at first I didn't realize that those were 3x3 cards. So what I had in mind and what I was going to use, because I like to always use something that is not in that particular card, was just a little bit too big. And so what I did is I tried a whole bunch of different things. So even though that card looks those cards look deceptively simple, sometimes they're not, just based on the things that you have in your stash. And so that really hit me this time. So what I want to use for this, there's dies in all of those ones. And rather than use the butterflies, I wanted to use the detailed pumpkins, partly because it's that time of year, because everything is pumpkin spice out there now, and partly because I just loved these dies. So the die that I want to use is this one right here. And I wanted a detailed die because that's what's shown in the catalog. So I'm just going to pull that one out and set it aside for just a moment. And one thing I did find is that this die doesn't fit on there really well. So if this is my, I'll put it right on the 3x3. So if this is my 3x3 paper, it doesn't fit out on there very well at all. But what I found I had to do is I had to turn it. So now you probably are already figuring out which one of those cards that I'm making. But what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a little technique, first of all, for adding some color. So we're going to use Mango Melody. We're going to use Pumpkin Pie. So we're going to go for 3 colors that are pretty bright, but also fall colors. And we're going for Cherry Cobbler. So we're going to go for a bright yellow, sort of orangey into orange, and then a very cherry-ish color. So I'm going to use my blending brushes today, which I love. And I'm going to show you one way to do this, and then I'm going to talk about a second way to do it as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these 3 colors onto this piece of basic white cardstock. And this is thick cardstock. Now, when you are using these blending brushes. These are great because they have tiny, tiny little bristles, little brushes that are very soft in there. I don't even know how many are in each one. And they also have a flexible head. So this is flexible. Now, I usually use mine with my hand fairly close down to the head. You can go out here for a much softer look. I find that I have a little more control here. So I usually have my hand here. Also, I wouldn't want to test this, you know, and put like 500 pounds of pressure on here because I think it would break right there. But so far I've had these since they came out and no problem. So you're going to tap right into your ink pad and then you're going to tap off. So you're going to tap off just onto your work surface or a scrap piece of paper because you want to get that first blush blob really of color off. Now I'm going to start with a swirling motion. I'm going to start on my paper and move into the paper I want to use for my card. So what I'm going to do is just swirl it on just a little bit. I want some of that mango showing up there. So you can see it's a little bit darker on the bottom where it's coming over the edge. I always think this is so cool what's left too. Now I can get rid of some more of the yellow just by doing that, but I really don't need to because I'm going to go into the orange next. So I keep some of these just by color families more so than one for every color because I think that's just a little bit wasteful. So I've got yellow and oranges in one. Now the orange is going to be a little bit darker. So I'm definitely going to go very softly in here, very softly right over top of where that yellow is. And you'll see that the two colors can be, it's not as blended together yet. So I'm going to do a little bit more blending because I want them just to merge one into the other so that you can't even tell where one starts and one stops. So you go in and pick up as much new ink as you need to. And I'm using a very light touch here. A very light touch, not heavy at all. I was a little heavier on the yellow down at the bottom. So there's a little bit of my orange. Now I'm going to go in with some red. Now this is my darkest color, so you can see how dark that is. So I am going to go in next, start off again with my swirling motion and go right in, very light touch. Okay, so here we are just, again, getting a little bit of a line. So we have 3 gradated colors, and I have a little more here than I would like. I'm just going to try and soften that up just a little bit. Now it's not going to matter as much when we get to our design, and you'll see why in just a moment. So now I'm just going to go back in with a little bit of orange. Now this is so, if you loved to color as a kid, and even if you, I don't know what other things you might have had fun doing, but this is very, very restful. It's something that is a lot of, I love the color, and this is just so much fun going around in a circle. So now I'm going to go into my mango, and I'm going to just darken it up a little bit where you see that lighter. Okay, so that I'm really going to have some bright color leading into that pumpkin pie. Okay, now I could have taken a little less time to do that, but now what I want to do is I want to cut this out. Okay, so I'm going to cut this guy out, and I wanted white on the top. Now before I do that, this is a detailed die, so I'm going to move these out of the way for a moment. And so I'm going to use an adhesive sheet on the back of that because once I cut that out, I'm going to have to dot glue all over it to lay it down. And I do that lots, but I want to use a piece of adhesive sheet. So let's just take one out. So I have pieces here that I'm going to place on the back, but this one's a little bit big. Let me try. So you want to keep all your little bits of this. This one might be a better size. Oh, that might even be the one that I cut out. So I'm going to take this. Now how these come, they have really 3 sheets of backing on them. And so I'm going to take my biggest one off first, and it should, and it should just come right off. I was upside down. Now if you don't have nails, go ahead and take your pick tool to go in there and just lift that off. The glue is on this side here, so the side that doesn't have any shine to it is where the glue is. We're going to pull the whole thing off, turn this over, and place it down on top. Looks like this is actually just a tiny bit big, so I'm going to have a little bit extra, which I really didn't want because it's a little bit wasteful. And now I'm going to take off that last one. Again, go in there with take your pick tool if you need to. or your fingernails, whichever works easier for you. This one, I think it's gonna work. There we go. And then lay it down. Okay, rather than taking the whole thing off at one time. Now before I do anything with this, I am going to run this through. Run these through. I'm gonna cut that off. Okay, so there's our piece. Now we're gonna take our mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'm gonna run that through there. Now, because I have a thick piece of cardstock and I have my adhesive on the back, I'm gonna need to go through a couple times. I'm gonna put that in there, and I'm going to make sure it doesn't move before I start to, now I could put a little piece of Post-it note on there, but I think I'm okay. So you may see my table move, and I'm sorry for that if that does happen, or you're gonna see my sheet move. So I'm gonna go through one way, and then I'm gonna go back again. I'm trying not to get anything to move. And before you take it out and try taking it apart, take a look at the back. So it's already come around on the outside. Everything's come on, but I'm not 100% sure. It looks to me like it has gone through here, but just to be sure, I'm going to run it through one more time. Just because we've got a lot of thickness there that we want to make sure is cut out. So there, now I can definitely see that that is cut out. And I forgot something. Here's my take your pick tool with my die brush, and I'm going to place that over top. Now what we're going to get is we are going to rub this right over top, and those pieces are going to pop out of there. And with my take your pick tool, the other end, I'm just going to pop them out a little bit more if they didn't go all the way out. Then you're going to just take this off. Now if you, it should have come away from the die a little bit that you can just pull it. If it didn't, all of these little holes right here are meant for you just to take your tool and poke them through. There you go. Oop, that one wanted to come away. There. Okay, so there is our pumpkin. Now, one of the things you could do besides doing the piece of paper like I did, you could take your pumpkin and you can do the same thing. And I'll do it on this one. But what I found is, I want this to be a little bit more red here. What I found is that these little pieces are pretty delicate. So you might have the situation where you bend them. And I didn't like that. I wanted them to be nice and flat. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit more here. But so you really need to hold on to them if you want to cut it out first and then put your color on. So now we're done. Now, have you figured out which one we're doing? You probably have. So let me pull it in. We are doing this one right here. So it's a piece of white paper, which at first I really didn't realize. And this one has 3 different colors on it. So this one I think has polished pink, fresh freesia, and pale papaya on a white piece. So the next thing I had to think about is what is the designer paper that I want to use? And I found doing this, and I've got a couple different examples to show you, that I like the paper that had the least amount of busyness going on. So I chose to go for the Designer Series paper packages. So these packages come in each of the color families, and you get 4 sheets each of every color. They're great for doing the back of an envelope. They're wonderful. They're more solid than some of our designer papers, and I always get them in the catalog. So I have a piece that is pumpkin pie, so picking one of the colors, and I need to run our pumpkin through again. So let me show you that catalog again. If we look at here, it's cut out of this piece of the pansy petals. So that's what I need to do. Now on here, because I can't set it like this, I'm going to have mine going this way, but I need to be really careful that I don't go off of the edges. So I'm going to put that in and run that through. And I wanted to show you this because it is a 2-step card. So even though, as I said, it seems like a super simple card, there's a couple little elements that you have to go through. And my brush again. We'll go through this one a little easier because there's only just the plain designer paper in there, so I shouldn't have to do as much. So I'm using a fair bit of pressure here in order to go against the die, and I like to use it with my metal piece still in there. You could take your paper out and do it, but I find again that's more delicate, and I'm worried about wrecking one of my, or ripping my paper. Okay, so we're not going to use this guy. You have him for another card. We actually want to use this part. Now it actually is fairly simple. Okay, so we are going to glue this down, pull in my silicone craft sheet, my liquid glue, and I'm going to go all the way around my pumpkin. Now I could have used this side of the paper if I wanted. I like that side of the paper. And I still could use this side of the paper, I guess, although it's upside down. But then you wouldn't see any of my color. So lift that up carefully and put it on top. So this piece of designer paper is 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. So it will fit right in the middle of my 3 by 3. Got a little bit of glue there. And then I'm just going to take my adhesive backing off, and I'm going to set it right inside there. I'm taking this off, and there's glue all on the back, so just be careful. And now you're going to place it right inside. So I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going, because it fits, it's exactly the die that you cut, so it's going to fit in there perfectly. Okay, so you've got these nice bright colors leading into the white right there. So on theirs, it's the difference on theirs is that it's a butterfly. So it's just glued on the body, I think, and maybe on this inner part, and it's left to lift up on the wings. So one thing I noticed on that one. Okay, so there's our card. Now we just need to do some words, and the words that I picked were the gather together. So I have a piece of basic white again. I'm getting a mess here, and I'm going to go, I think, with what will I do? Cherry cobbler. I think cherry cobbler to go with the background of the card. I'm going to try and get this straight. So I'm going to even this out. I can see my grid marks through my silicone craft sheet. I'm going to try and get it straight anyway. We'll see if that's straight. Not bad. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this off with my scissors. Now, the card here has a much narrower one. So I can do one of two things. I can just choose to do a bigger one like this, and I'll show you another design with that. Or I can cut it out like this, which is what I've done. And here I've used the pumpkin pie. So that's the one I'm going to use to show you today. And that's just a simple matter of cutting it with your paper snips. I'm going to pull in some of my mini dimensionals, and they are going to go on the back. Now don't go too far to this edge, because something in the card is that it actually extends a tiny little bit over the edge of the card. So I'm just going to go that far right there and take the backings off. There we go. And then place this down at the bottom with an extending over to the side. So that's the card they made. Now I couldn't resist putting another little thing on there. So I have somewhere here, I think I had the leaf. And like I said, I do have some samples, so I have some leaves in here. So I always cut a few extra when I'm cutting. So let's go for that leaf right there. One of the dies, one of the other dies that are in the set. And just going to glue that right on top, just for a little bit of interest on there. I'll put that right on. And then I had to put a little embellishment too. So I'm going to go for one of the brushed metallic dots and just place that on. I liked this one because it wasn't too different from the old olive. So there's your card. And then all you want to do is take your envelope, and you're going to put some of your designer paper on the back of your envelope. So there it is. Show you how to make it. Now let me show you a couple other samples so you can see and get an idea of different things you can do with it. So I found, even though that one fit, I had to put it on its side. This one was a way better size. This is one of the dies. Let me just pull them in here. out of the gingerbread set. So every one of these dies in here would work. And you want one that has lots of intricate detail. And it was surprising, once I started looking through my current ones, how many I didn't have, or how many I tried that ended up not working. So you want something that's really detailed. The leaves would work that are there right now. And then just, you can see this one's a little bit smaller and a couple little embellishments on there. And again, decorated the envelope to go with it. And then this one's a little different again. So this guy here, I used the all squared up. Let me just pull that in. It's the floral squares here. And I use this guy right here because I thought that was sort of fallish, which is what I'm going for. And the stamp set that goes along with that one is the all squared away. And it had the You Are So Worth Celebrating, which was a little narrower. So that one is a little bit more like the stamp set, but a little different in how it was cut out, not quite as much detail. So I hope that gives you a few ideas, and I hope that it gives you something to think about for doing your own cards. So let me know. I always like to know which one here is your favorite, so you can put that comment into the Facebook. So thank you for joining in, and for your comments, and for sharing this with people in your Facebook world who may also enjoy stamping and paper crafting and card making and might just get a kick out of it. So thanks very much. We will see you again next week or Tuesday night if you want to come watch the On Command Crafting, where you get to take part and make the card along with me. See you later. Bye-bye.